Hi, my name's Kathleen Selmans. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Amplified Now, and I have a quick little rant. Oh, okay, first let me set some context. I have read every single one of those articles about like the 6 things billionaires do before 7 a.m. that the rest of us don't do, you know, like all of that stuff. The productivity, I've stopped short of taking an ice bath or whatever, but I love reading that stuff. And the other day on social media, I saw somebody talking about the writing habits of David Foster Wallace and how when he was writing, sometimes he would get stuck and he wouldn't be able to write, but then once he started writing, he would write and forget to eat and forget to communicate with humans and whatever. And it bothered me on a deep, deep level. First of all, there was only one David Foster Wallace, and if you haven't read any of his stuff, he was a genius who wrote in a way that no one else can. That said, he killed himself because he couldn't live in this world. And so before you go idolizing these heroes and trying to mimic your habits the way that they did, make sure you take a step back and look at their whole lives. Because taking productivity tips from David Foster Wallace or Sylvia Plath or Virginia Woolf or Ernest Hemingway isn't a long-term strategy. And so too probably are the 8 different things that billionaires do differently before 7 a.m. If you look at anybody's life in just that micro, you won't get anywhere. Writers especially. Make sure that you're following writers that have healthy lives, that have a life that you want, a life that you could live. And entrepreneurs too. You can't model your life based on the life of someone who just presents a different thing. And it just drives me so crazy. And yes, it's probably a fairly innocuous thing to argue with strangers on the internet about, but it bothers me every time around graduation season because David Foster Wallace gave a graduation speech to young people who were going out in the world. And again, that advice is good, but he couldn't take life advice because he couldn't take this life. And so before you buy into anybody's dogma, make sure you know their whole story. Make sure you realize that when you idolize this slice of someone's life, Steve Jobs, for example, if you idolize him, then you might also not go and get cancer treatment for a diagnosis that you could solve. Just make sure that you're living your life on your own terms. And to me, that's the biggest takeaway, is that when we as entrepreneurs decide, or I don't actually think we decide, I think it's sometimes it's thrust upon us and sometimes we just can't avoid it. But when we take the entrepreneurial path, that path is ours to create. It's ours to map out. We can decide how it goes. And we can take our cues from people who are ahead of us, and we should. We absolutely should. But to think that we could be the next Hemingway or the next David Foster Wallace or the next Virginia Woolf is doing ourselves and those people a disservice. You can't put somebody else on a pedestal because everyone else is just a person too. And you can't be somebody else because you are special, and the way that you synthesize your life, the way that you understand your expertise, the way that you show up in the world is singular. And it takes some courage and probably some experience to be comfortable standing on your own path. Probably that's why I read all those productivity hacks, and I've tried a fair number of them myself. But people aren't successful because they get up at 4 a.m. People aren't successful because they take ice baths. People aren't successful because of any of these little quirks or routines. People are successful because they have put themselves in a path to be successful. And you can do it too. This is not a bootstrap thing. This is just be careful who your heroes are, because you're your own hero. You're my hero. The way that you show up in the world is important. The fact that you get your stuff done between 7 and 10 p.m., that's fine. It works for you. It's fine. You don't have to do anything according to anybody else's template. And that's what I want to take away. Make sure you're not giving too much headspace to heroes who aren't around anymore. Be your own hero. Thanks so much.